check, just count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm good here. Everyone else?
I've been set, yep.
Set,
We're
right?
good.
I look
So,
good.
My first question is going to be, yesterday we talked about signs of life. Today, has anything new been found? And then also, we heard of a second campsite that was possibly found. Can you speak on that?
Yes, so after we spoke yesterday, one of our search teams did discover what appeared to be a second campsite. That would be in the Baxter's Hollow area of the Baraboo Bluffs, excuse me. That campsite, while having signs of being old, also had some signs of being new, which were fresh foliage that had been cut and draped across the top of the canopy that was there, almost like a rain guard. The officers who found that also found in the area evidence that the leaves and foliage had been cut very recently. When we found that, we decided to revamp what our plan was for yesterday afternoon. Finding a second campsite with that much recent activity gave us hope that he was in the area. What we chose to do at that point was scale back the amount of team members that we had out looking for him, because it was our belief, based upon what we found, that kind of like the first day, we may have bumped him further away from us, and we didn't want him to go into an area that he's not familiar with. We continued to have Black Hawk air support until around 8 o'clock last night, running their FLIR and infrared cameras. We did have teams on scene should something be found at that time. When we backed out, we did leave some cameras on scene, trail cameras that were connected cellularly, so that way if any motion or activity was detected at that campsite, we would get an alert and be able to respond immediately regardless of what time it was. I can tell you that we did not get any activity on that camera overnight. However, we did deploy a team of 6 into that area during the hours of darkness, approximately 3:30 in the morning, just to see if we could find any evidence of a campsite, campfire, by smelling smoke, seeing lights, hearing any noises. We also had handheld FLIR and infrared to see if we could see any, again, campsites, and we had drones deployed overhead, combing through the canopy as well, looking for any signs of life.
Anything new today?
Yes, so we searched the north and, well, really the entire area of Stones Pocket Road, north, east, and west from where we left off yesterday, having located that first campsite. We located a 3/4 full jug of water not far from that second campsite. We also found 2 additional structures in some of our grids that looked like they had been erected within the last day or two. We found a pair of socks not far from one of the trailheads that looked like it had not been there very long. We found a knife sheath that looked like it had been dropped right next to the socks. So while we were investigating that area today, we found multiple signs to show that there had been, again, recent human activity in the area that we found the second campsite yesterday.
And what are you guys doing to confirm whether or not those are James or not?
So everything that we found has been immediately photographed and sent back to the command post. James's dad, Bill, has been here pretty much from the start on Monday. We've been in communication with him the moments that he has gone home to rest or to tend to his other family. Everything that we've found has been sent back, and then we've been showing him those items and asking him to confirm if he believes that that's something that was James's prior to him leaving the house. Some of the items he has acknowledged could be. We've not had any absolute positive identification on anything, but there are certain items that he's believed could belong to James.
Is there any consideration in foul play here?
No, not at this time. When we got started on Monday, we were acting on the information we had at the time, which was leading us to believe that James could possibly be in danger by way of himself, or we weren't sure what his intentions were. So we approached this investigation starting Monday, believing that we were on a search and rescue mission. However, while we've been out here doing this side of things that you guys have seen, we've had teams of detectives working on the backside to try to paint a better picture of James, so it just gives us more information to work with. Through that investigation and from further disclosures from family members, we've been able to gain a better picture of James and his interests. James has expressed to multiple people his desire to be a survivalist. I know we've touched previously on the military survival guide. We also found out today that he is likely in possession of one of a series of books entitled Living Off the Grid, which has information in it to survive in the woods by yourself, including water filtration, how to build camps, and some of that is what's leading us to believe that the structures that we're finding are probably left by James, because they're built in a way that mirrors what was in that book. A lot of the things that we're seeing seem to be straight out of a survival guide, and we now believe that he's in possession of not one but likely 2 wilderness survival guides.
I know yesterday when we talked, you guys were concerned that he might be lost or hurt. As you continue to find more signs that could potentially be from him, is that still the belief, or do you guys have a theory that maybe he's running and dodging law enforcement at this point?
That is kind of the direction that we're heading. Having talked with family and gained more information, not only through what we've found with our searchers in the woods, but also through our detectives working the backside, talking to essentially every person that knows James or has even heard of James, we've kind of put together a picture of somebody who has spoken again about this being something that he wanted to try. He wanted to try living off the grid. He wanted to try being a survivalist. We feel like our added presence at this point could continue to just push him further and further away. And that's what we're taking into account with the change that you may see behind me now with the lack of squads, and the planning and preparation that we're going to put into this weekend and our continued investigation and continued deployment of resources to find James.
How hard is it to make that call to say, our large presence could be pushing him further away and that could decrease our chances of finding him, but also pulling back and not having as many people out there could also decrease your chances of finding him? How hard is it to kind of make that call?
Absolutely, and that is not a decision that we have made or taken lightly. We have been in close contact with not only James's father, Bill, but other family members throughout this investigation, and asked them, what do you guys think about this type of behavior? And while it seems to be something that's not exactly expected, what we've kind of come up with is that he may be trying to avoid us to fulfill his desire to live off the grid. We've been in close contact, like I said, with the family, and the way that we're trending our investigation into this right now is not only our decision, but one that the family thinks is probably the right track to try. Because at this point, while we've been coming up with evidence, again, of human activity that we believe to be James, we've thrown a lot of resources and a lot of people, and we haven't had sightings of James. And because of that, we think that he may be trying to avoid us.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That was me, actually. So you've got someone that you're talking about may potentially be aware of police that are investigating, and someone who's trying that, surviving off the grid. Do you have reason then to think that he's choosing specific times or specific reasons for when he's moving, cover of darkness, to evade police that may not be out at that point? Specific areas that are more difficult to trudge through? Do you have reason to believe that he is then deliberately choosing how and when he wants to be moving?
Again, some of the structures that we found, some of the locations that we found signs of activity would indicate that he's, again, reading through survivalist manuals, wooded survival manuals, and taking what it tells him to do to heart. It's one of the, again, difficult decisions that we have to make is our presence prolonging this with the scale that we've had over the last 2 days, including today. I believe we have put around 170 officers into the woods, combing miles and miles of woods. And again, while we've come up with some evidence, we haven't come up with James. And it's one of those things that we're trying to figure out. If he was hurt or injured or seeking help, with the amount of people that we've put into the woods and the amount of resources, it's a tough thing to find that he wouldn't have found one of us, because we still actually have teams out right now working in the area that we found the last activity.
You think he's still alive?
Yes, I believe he is.
So what are the weekend plans, next steps?
So we're still working together with multiple agencies to come up with the plan for not only this evening and tomorrow, but moving forward. Like I said, you can see behind me now, a lot of the squads that were here this morning have since left. While we are reducing some of the numbers of units visible here, we're by no means scaling back the investigation to a point where we're not looking into this. We will have resources in the area throughout the entire weekend. You may notice an increase in presence of squads patrolling Highway 12 and some of the roads off of Highway 12 in the area that we've been looking. Again, anybody that sees anything that they find, whether it be believed to be James, if it's a sighting or if they find evidence of that, I strongly ask that you immediately contact law enforcement, and it will be one of our utmost priorities to get deputies there as fast as possible. Because again, while we believe James is working towards something that may have been a goal of his of living off the grid, we still would like confirmation that he is indeed okay. And part of that is just going to come with having some sort of contact with him.
So the search will continue through the weekend and next week?
Yes, like I said, we are scaling back the resources that we have here right now, but by no means is the investigation over. You may see teams of deputies out on foot. There'll be smaller groups, and generally what we're trying to work towards now is a more targeted approach. Rather than flooding the area with hundreds of officers and deputies, we're going to try to find more unique pieces of evidence and unique items of interest, and then put officers in those areas to see if we can come up with something. And if we get something like that triggers that we believe that we've located James, or we've located an area that needs our attention, we have officers and deputies on the ready for this entire weekend to respond if need be.
Would there be a point where you would stop?
At this point, we're going to continue to work with the family and continue to follow through with our investigation until we can reach a conclusion.
How many officers do you guys have on foot right now?
Right now, we have one team left out. Approximately 18 officers are on that team. We started this morning with 7 teams of at least 10. However, we have had a couple injuries over the past 2 days. We've had 2 deputies have to be taken to the hospital, whether it be heat related or injuries sustained. And part of that is also weighing in the reduction of resources that we're deploying out there. When we're getting people hurt as well, we can't help James if we can't stay healthy ourselves. And when we have to extricate people because they've sustained injuries, we have resources available, but they're not working towards finding James at that point.
And this is still an officer-only search, correct?
So at this point, with what we've been able to uncover, we do not believe that James is a threat to the public or himself. We are not going to ask the public to come in and assist with the search, but it is a public space and we can't control what people do in there. So at this point, we're not saying that this is a public search where we're asking people to come in and try to find James. Again, I think what would happen if the area is flooded with people trying to find James is he may continue the behavior that he's done with us, which is try to be as elusive as possible. I think what we're hoping is that over time, James will come out, make contact with somebody, let us know that he's okay.
Does that put any issue then if people are in the area with the K-9 units that may be trying to pick up his scent? Anything related to that if people are out in those spaces?
So if I guess I would ask this, if the public is in the area and they see law enforcement actively working a scene, I would ask that they stay away from that scene. If our plan right now is not to randomly deploy K-9 units into the woods any longer. Again, we would have targeted response to items of interest that may come up. But if you do see multiple squads or even squads in the area, officers in the area on foot, unless you have something that absolutely needs to be reported right there, I would ask that you contact Sauk County Dispatch, and it asks to be put in contact with either a deputy that's on duty or a detective if there's one on duty, and report that information and allow us to respond. If you see officers out on foot just please give them their space. They're going to be there with a purpose, and the more distractions and things that come up and the more variables that we introduce into these types of scenes, the less likely we are to make contact with James, because we're just introducing more and more people into an area where he's trying to, under our belief, live as a survivalist in the woods.
Going off of that, typically if someone were to get lost in the woods or be injured or go missing in that way, they might not have prepared for that. So in terms of food and water, that might not be the case. But in this case, do you guys believe that he, because of that survivalist mentality, might have prepared and packed for that?
Yes, so as we've been working the field out here, like I said, there's been an entire team of detectives working on this case on the background. And through their investigation, what they found is that we do believe that James has food. We also believe that James has access to water. We believe he has access to at least some camping tools, including a survivalist type knife. So by no means do we think that he's completely unprepared. I think this was something that he had thought about for a while, and with the items that we've discovered missing from the family residence, it all leads to things that you would take in the woods if you were trying to undertake something like this.
And I know you said it's survival is what you think he's doing, so is that why you don't believe he's a threat anymore, or what made that switch?
So again, through our investigation, through working with everybody who has known or talked with James, we learned that he has made comments, or at least talked to some of his fellow students in the past about essentially saying, how long do you think I can survive in the woods by myself for? That was something that triggered to us, okay, maybe this isn't somebody who's in distress, but somebody who went out into the woods with a purpose. We have enough that we've uncovered to lead us to believe that he's not out there with the intention of harming himself, nor the intention of harming anybody else. I believe he's out there to try to follow through with something that he has wanted to do, which is live off the grid.
Do you have any indication as to why this was the timing, or if something triggered him going now?
Only speculation at this point, nothing that we've been absolutely able to uncover. We have theories, but nothing that I can share at this time.
And as far as the location, he's somewhat familiar with this area. Is that what you guys are thinking?
I mean, this area in and of itself is very well known for being extremely remote, so I can see why the appeal would be there for somebody who's looking to undertake something like this. Anybody with access to internet or books or even local maps can find this area. We don't know specifically that he's spent time here before, but he is from the area, and I'm sure he's well aware just how remote the Baraboo Range is.
And you guys suspect that he is aware of your presence, at least somewhat. Do you guys have any indications as to why he specifically isn't reaching out, or is it just because you think he's reaching his goal?
Right now we don't have anything specific. It's not as though we've seen him running away through the woods as we're coming in. It's the amount of resources that we've deployed into the woods without making contact with him, while we continue to find evidence that people have been there. We've located people. We've located hikers, we've located fishermen, we've located nature photographers. We haven't located James. The people that we've located, we've checked with, and they have not been the ones making structures and leaving items like that that we found behind. So again, we're working with deducting to basically come up with, okay, well, if it's not you guys and it's somebody, and we're missing somebody who's out in the woods, we're surmising that it's coming from James.
Is there anything you want to say about the community and the local businesses kind of helping you guys out throughout this whole effort?
Yeah, I can't stress enough the support that we've gotten through this entire endeavor that we've been working on the last couple days. The community has been huge. Again, the support that they've shown through food donations, water, Gatorade. We've had veterinary care for the canine teams on scene the last couple days. We've had donations of really everything that we could ask for. And I know that the support has been huge, and we've felt that, and we greatly, greatly appreciate everybody supporting us while we're trying to locate James.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
The one thing that I would like to add, So having worked with Bill, James's dad, we just briefly met for around 10 minutes. So we've been in constant contact with him throughout this entire investigation. And we spoke this morning about his beliefs about what's going on and how they were starting to really align with ours. We also met this afternoon after we had our morning search conducted, and we explained to him every single thing that we found. And we are still in agreement that our beliefs about what's taking place are now matching the family's. I would like to add that Bill has asked that no media requests, no outreach. They are asking for privacy during this. So if there is any media outreach or anybody has questions about this, I would ask that they direct them to the sheriff's office. We're going to remain in constant contact with Bill and his family throughout this entire event until we can find a resolution to it. So again, any questions or comments, they're asking for privacy. They are very aware of what's going on, and they would just like privacy while they deal with this. So please direct all of that to the sheriff's office.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
News 3 Now is always on.
Get the Channel 3000 app, activate the push alerts, and we will send you breaking news, traffic, and weather alerts as it happens.
The Channel 3000 app. Get it now.
Powered by News 3 Now.